No question about it.
So there's a lot of major things we've done. But what we haven't done is we haven't been able to communicate it in a way that is, let me say another way.
Well, see, that's kind of perfect. Yeah, we haven't been able to communicate it.
But look how the press has changed. Mm-hmm. Look how the press has changed.
It has changed. Oh, listen, I get it.
I know you overstand it. Yeah. You don't just understand it, you overstand it. But here's the deal. One of the things is that it's very difficult now to have even with notable exceptions, even the really good reporters, they have to get the number of clicks on nightly news. Mm-hmm. So instead of asking a question, anyway, it just everything gets sensationalized in ways that. But I'm convinced we can get through this. We have to get through it. And one of the things, look.
I'm going to take a break, and then we'll talk a little bit more, if you don't mind.
You.
I'm sorry. We have some of those commercials. We have some biracial commercials we need to show.
So just a reminder that what you are watching in this presidency is a Visiting Angels commercial. Jimmy Kimmel there having to take a commercial break because Joe Biden can't string a sentence together. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Yeah, the humiliation of Joe Biden continues apace, with even the most pleasant audiences pre-chosen for him inside of Los Angeles, which is the most Democrat city, inside the most Democrat state, with the most left-wing host, who is a Democrat Party donor, a Joe Biden voter, and a sycophant PR person for the Democratic Socialist Party, Jimmy Kimmel, brings on Joe Biden. Joe Biden is able to sit there and to just say, Joe Biden failed last night on Jimmy Kimmel. It was humiliating. It was embarrassing. It's hard to actually watch. It's like a little blind kid who can't hit the piñata at the birthday party, even though you put him sitting right there in front of the piñata. He just swings, and it's embarrassing, and it's depressing to watch. It's like they gave him everything you could possibly ask for. This weekend, I traveled to Denver for the Western Conservative Summit. At this summit, I gave a speech, and they wanted me to lasso a bull. So what they did after my speech, in order to humiliate me, they brought on stage a fake plastic bull, and they handed me a lasso. And I'll never forgive them for this, because I've never lassoed anything in my life, and I'm no cowboy. I don't pretend to be. And so they make me lasso the bull on stage, and I miss it 2 or 3 times. I eventually just end up throwing the lasso around the neck at close range and just calling it good. But what that was a setup to try and to give me a very warm audience, right? It was a room full of conservatives and Christians, and we just gave a fun speech, and the audience was laughing and rolling. And this was a feat that was supposed to be simple, that even a child can do. Little kids go do rodeos, right? Even a child could do it, and I couldn't do it. Yeah, got it. Couldn't do it. This is like Joe Biden going on Jimmy Kimmel. Like, you're giving him this most simple task, and you're giving him a warm audience, you're giving him a friendly host, a host that donated to him and advocates for him, and not even Jimmy Kimmel can make Joe Biden look sentient. Joe Biden is not alive. Joe Biden is not with us. That was made clear last night because every domino was stacked in Joe Biden's favor, and even though everything was just handed to him on a crystal platter, Joe Biden gives answers like this about biracial couples being in commercials in America? The hell, man? Get back to your Whispering Angels commercial. The Werther's Originals are warming up in your pocket. Joe Biden, go.
No, I'm serious.
Right, there's something to that, yeah.
No, but I'm serious. You turn on the TV, look at the ads. When's the last time you saw biracial couples on TV? When's the last time you saw the way, people are selling products, they do ads to sell products, and they sell products when they appeal to people. This generation is going to change everything. We just got to make sure we don't give up. There's an ability for us to do everything from increase the access to education, healthcare. Look what we did in healthcare.
When was the last time you saw biracial couples on TV? Is Joe Biden time traveler? Is he coming to us with a flux capacitor from the 1950s when it was not allowed to have biracial couples? It's like, what's going on here? What is he talking about? This is, again, the easiest interview you could get. This is taking the small blind child at the birthday party, lowering the piñata, giving the kid a bat, and saying swing, and the piñata's right in front of him, right? And it's so painful to watch Joe Biden miss again and again and again. It's to the point that Jimmy Kimmel cut to commercial break. It is humiliating, it's scary, and as the Babylon Bee says, Joe Biden wants to take away the guns of the mentally ill, even though he is a senile man with nukes. And that was on display last night. So if Joe Biden can't perform when it is every single object stacked in his favor, then Joe Biden's not going to be able to perform when you have a crisis that is not stacked in his favor, and there are many of those. And perhaps that's why Joe Biden last night said an incredibly scary thing where he talked about locking up his political opponents. So when you're losing, what a dictator or tyrant or a fascist would do would be to, well, start to jail my political opponents. This is a playbook right there. Okay, well, I can't convince the people to be on my side, so I think I'll just throw the people who would be threats to me in prison, my political opponents in prison. Joe Biden talked about that in no uncertain terms. Check it out.
I often get asked, look, the Republicans don't play it square. Why do you play it square?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If we do the same thing they do, our democracy will literally be in jeopardy.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
not a joke. And
I understand that argument, but also it's like you're playing Monopoly with somebody who, you know, won't pass go and won't follow any of the rules. And how do you ever make any progress if they're not following the rules?
We've got to send them to jail, you know. There's that little box in there.
Directly to jail?
Go directly to jail.
Ha 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 ha. We'll send them to jail, says the man who has American patriots sitting there rotting in the Washington, D.C. jail without charges for 500 days for trespassing. Ha 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 ha, says Joe Biden, threatening to send Republicans to jail, where sitting here before me from bridgemichigan.com is an article from this morning. FBI searches home of Ryan Kelly, GOP candidate for Michigan governor. The FBI has raided the home of a Michigan Republican gubernatorial candidate, Ryan Kelly, on Thursday morning. The FBI executed a search warrant and arrested Kelly at his home in Annandale Township. Video review by Bridge, Michigan appears to show FBI agents leading a man who resembled Kelly to a gray SUV before 9:30 a.m. So Joe Biden, it's not a joke when he's actually doing it. This is the weaponization of the FBI. This is the final end result of what's been happening in our country. The final result always ends with locking up your political opponents. So they went straight past smearing them in the press with allegations of being, you know, an agent of Putin, to just arresting them. Just arrest them. This guy was apparently on the Capitol steps during January 6th. They arrested him for a misdemeanor. This man's running for office against Gretchen Whitmer. That's the same governor in Michigan who the FBI created a fake plot against to kidnap. A jury will not vote to convict the men who allegedly had a conspiracy to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, and then that same FBI agent that oversaw the operation to kidnap the governor of Michigan went and oversaw the FBI's operations during January 6th. We're just asking questions. We have Darren Beatty on. We've watched Tucker Carlson's documentary on January 6th, and tonight they're going to have a Soviet show trial for January 6th, and we are going to be on live critiquing it and making fun of these people and bringing your comments to the screen as they attempt to have a Jeffrey Epstein denier and pederast protector produce. That's right, this man, his name's Jeffrey Goldstein, and he comes from ABC. He's a former executive of ABC. This is the man who killed the Jeffrey Epstein story before Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. He stopped ABC from publishing an Epstein story because it would have hurt the Clintons and Democrats. This man is going to be producing fake television tonight for the January 6th committee. We'll be live tonight. Please join us. And also, a quick note, we want to say thank you to our viewership. The viewership of the show has been increasing dramatically, and we are so excited that all of you can join us on our journey here. Please like the page, please subscribe, and please leave us a 5-star review if you're listening on podcasts. We deeply appreciate it. We do this show for free. We invest a lot in it, and we're not perfect. Yesterday, our stream crashed because of a catastrophic technical error, and we just want to apologize to the 5,000 people who were watching at that time. We've gone out and done a bunch of work overnight and fixed the problem, and here we are today back at it. But we just want to say thank you. We understand that we are building something from the ground up here. It's independent media. It's not owned by a corporation. We answer to you alone. We don't answer to someone up above us, or we're not part of some giant corporate entity. We're here for you. We're here. We're streaming for free. We do all this research. We put together this show so that you can be informed and so that you can have a community online where we are able to speak about truth and the content you're not going to see in the corporate press. So we thank you. Something that you wouldn't see in the corporate press, this has been utterly deleted from media coverage. You actually have to scroll down so far that your fingers bleed on the New York Times homepage, is that the DOJ has charged a California man for wanting to kill Brett Kavanaugh. That's right. This man is 26 years old, and he showed up at Brett Kavanaugh's house attempting to murder him. The cops say he was angry over the Roe v. Wade leaked decision, and he had tactical equipment, a Glock 17 and zip ties, and he found his address online. So here's a man who has been radicalized by mainstream leftist talking points that there will reap a whirlwind if you decide to go through with this decision. That's what Chuck Schumer says. Various Democrats saying that you should be putting pressure on the Supreme Court, that you should show up at their houses. Oh, don't you worry. We have the videotape. But what is the end result of all of this? The end result of all of this is a man actually showing up and wanting to commit murder. According to the Daily Mail, the Supreme Court confirmed to the Daily Mail that a man was arrested outside of Brett Kavanaugh's home after making threats against him. Maryland police identified 26-year-old man named as Nicholas John Roski. Roski allegedly told detectives that he was upset about the leak of the recent Supreme Court draft and that he wanted to protect a woman's right to an abortion by killing Brett Kavanaugh. He also was upset about recent school shootings in Uvalde, Texas. So he traveled across the country to Maryland with the intention to harm Brett Kavanaugh. What's the zip ties for? Are you going to zip tie? Brett Kavanaugh has 2 little girls. Were you going to zip tie his family? And what if a federal marshal hadn't intercepted this man? Where is the outrage? Where are the cries for unity and for us to lower the temperature in this country? We certainly have those cries. We have critiques of people that the elites and those in charge are doing right by you. But never, ever would we ever do anything remotely close to calling for physical or even mental violence against these people. You know, we don't want like threats done digitally. We don't want any of that. That's how you lose a country. And it's certainly how you ratchet things up to the point where the pendulum breaks, right? So the delta of the pendulum just starts snapping. This is what happens in third world dictatorships. And you're starting to see it happen here. Joe Biden's FBI is arresting political opponents and keeping their political enemies in jail. Tonight, you're going to watch a sham trial of a Soviet Politburo, January 6th committee, attempting to keep in jail or attempting to smear and slander their political opponents who had nothing to do with January 6th. January 6th, to summarize, had some bad actors enter the U.S. Capitol. Now, what the questions we have is, well, Were these people instigated and incited by the FBI? We have footage of Ray Epps. We know he was working for the FBI, and we know that Ray Epps said we need to go into the U.S. Capitol. We have the footage. We can see Ray Epps at the very front of the barricades talking to the police and then talking to the protesters. What was he doing? He was right there when the barricades came down. We have questions. Those are questions. Those are questions that a review should actually be asking. What was the role of the FBI in January 6th? They've been asked that directly by Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz didn't get an answer to them. They wouldn't be able to disclose their methods, they told Ted Cruz. Well, I think that's pretty important when it comes to this moment. What were your methods inside the crowd? And most importantly, why were they let in? I have been in D.C. and lived in D.C. for 15 years, and I know I'm going on a tangent here, but let me make something very clear to you. I've been in the U.S. Capitol every single day for like 10 years. I was a Capitol Hill reporter. I had a press badge. You can't just walk in there. I got to make this super clear. As somebody who's worked in that building, had an office in that building, has been in and out of that building, I know that building extremely well. Even with a press badge, with my face, name on it, stamped by the Capitol Police, it was very hard to get into that building. It was really difficult to get into the Capitol with a badge with my face on it with a Capitol Police emblem over it. Approved of and allowed in by the Capitol Police every day was like more stringent than TSA. Imagine getting on a plane. You go through TSA, everyone's been on a plane. That's that and then some to get into the U.S. Capitol is how difficult it is to get into the U.S. Capitol. So I have questions. We'll ask them tonight in our special where we critique those hearings, Soviet-style hearings. But I think it's time for us to take a little look as Brett Kavanaugh's would-be murderer, attempted murder is what this man is charged with, and hopefully terrorism. And I think that maybe we should be looking at some national Democrats and be asking, are they accessory to murder? Are they accessory to this man's terroristic acts? First Democrat, Chuck Schumer, who should be expelled from the Senate for saying this.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
You won't know what hit you, is what Chuck Schumer said. What is he talking about? Is that a message? I'm sure the man who showed up at Brett Kavanaugh's house was preparing to surprise Kavanaugh and make sure that he didn't know what hit him. It's evil. We disavow it all. This is left-wing terrorism. And it continues all the way up to the very podium and the spokesperson of Joe Biden. Jen Psaki saying that she doesn't mind protesters outside of the Supreme Court's justices' homes where their little children live, where their small children live. Amy Coney Barrett, I think, has like very young kids, maybe like 2-3 years old. I need to check on that, but she has a very young child. She has a lot of kids. Some of them are adopted. And Amy Coney Barrett has little children. Brett Kavanaugh has little school-age children as well. Here's Jen Psaki saying, hey, go take those kids' lunch money, Antifa. Watch.
I know that there's an outrage right now, I guess, about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position.
We encourage the protests outside of judges' homes. Last night, Tucker Carlson played a supercut of various national Democrats saying, hey, you know what? Go to the private homes of these justices and make sure that their children can't sleep at night. Watch.
You think that these protesters should continue to be outside Supreme Court justices' homes and interrupt church?
I get interrupted and protested all the time. I welcome it in many ways, as long as it's not, violent rhetoric, talking about, physical harm and all those kind of things. I think it's just really important to understand that that happens. We're in public service.
This Supreme Court said back then protesters should be able to get right in people's faces. Now they are erecting barriers to try to keep protesters as far away from themselves as possible. I think that's fundamentally wrong.
So do you think that these protesters should be prosecuted for breaking federal law.
What is the federal law? I'm sorry.
It's U.S. Code 1507. It prevents picketing or parading in or near a building housing a court of the United States or in or near a building or residence occupied or used by such judge. Do you think they should be prosecuted for breaking federal law?
The Supreme Court itself has heard this argument, and they have themselves said it is protected by the First Amendment.
So here you have various members of the Democrat Party which lived inside of a protective bubble, razor wire and militarized, in the U.S. Capitol after January 6th, where a couple hundred droogs wandered into the Capitol and then were kicked out of the Capitol within an hour, and then the process of certifying the election went forward. And everything was done. That's what happened on January 6th. Here you have, after that event, which we don't endorse, we're shocked that it happened based on our knowledge of the U.S. Capitol, but after that event, you're sitting there with razor wire, every single state's National Guard called up to come to secure the U.S. Capitol. That razor wire was up for months and months and months. Nancy's Great Wall. She sure as hell wouldn't build a wall on the border, but damn it, did Nancy Pelosi put up a wall that would make Genghis Khan jealous, a wall that would make the Great Wall of China builders jealous all around the Capitol. And we had to live with it in Washington, D.C. I mean, you couldn't even get to within a mile of the Capitol. Multiple barriers, razor wires. It was insane. It was a policed and military state. It was a lockdown state. Something out of a movie. Because Grandma wandered into the Capitol. Okay, so they're protected, but now a Supreme Court justice who has a man, according to the Daily Mail, his name's Roski again, he was armed with black tactical chest rigs and a tactical knife, a Glock 17 pistol, and 2 magazines with ammunition, pepper spray, zip ties, a hammer, a screwdriver, nail punch, crowbar, pistol-like duct tape, hiking boots, with padding on the outside of the soles and other items. That's important. Padding on the outside of the soles. What's that for? Hiking boots with padding on the outside of the soles, according to the Daily Mail. The importance of that is that he could kick in a door or glass without hurting himself.